she was apparently screaming to the producers, very, very annoyed at what they'd asked her. And I imagine that is that sort of question. She wasn't there for that because she said, I didn't expect this. And you mustn't do that with Meghan because she's in control. But you could see she couldn't contain her anger, her fury, just the same as in and out of the interview, she couldn't stand Harry speaking. She would look at him with such harsh eyes and such a terrible expression on her face because she didn't want him to talk.
Angela Levin, I have been looking forward to speaking to you about this extraordinary interview with miserable Meghan and unhappy Harry for the past few days. It certainly wasn't a good 43rd birthday for the Duchess of Sussex, was it? Because for their first sit down together since Oprah Winfrey, which is actually a really big deal, back on CBS, this time with another very experienced TV professional from America, Jane Pauley, despite all of that, it was a real car crash.
You had an experience that connects you to these families. And I see you touch your husband's hand in just the way I knew that you would be looking after each other if I went places. But the connection that you have with people is they know you had suffered too, personally. Contemplating killing yourself is what suicidal ideation was. And I'm dancing around this because I can see you're uncomfortable with my even going there. Do you?
I understand why you are, though. I wasn't expecting it, but I understand why you are, because there is a through line, I think. And when you've been through any level of pain or trauma, I believe part of our healing journey, certainly part of mine, is being able to be really open about it. And I haven't really scraped the surface on my experience, but I do think that I would never want someone else to feel that way. And I would never want someone else to be making those sort of plans. And I would never want someone else to not be believed. So if me voicing what I have overcome will save someone or asks or encourage someone in their life to really genuinely check in on them and not assume that the appearance is good so everything's okay, then that's worth it. I'll take a hit for that.
Oh, Angela, she was so mad. She was fuming. And you've actually heard that she threw a bit of a strop?
Yeah, she did. After the interview was over, she was apparently screaming to the producers, very, very annoyed at what they'd asked her. And I imagine that is that sort of question. She wasn't there for that because she said, I didn't expect this. And you mustn't do that with Meghan because she's in control. But you could see she couldn't contain her anger, her fury, just the same as in and out of the interview, she couldn't stand Harry speaking. She would look at him with such harsh eyes and such a terrible expression on her face because she didn't want him to talk. I imagine it was very difficult. And Harry, I do feel sorry with him. Actually, when I see that face, he looks so unhappy. The face has absolutely got no expression on, and he just looks at a complete loss. He is really lost at the moment, I think. And although I've been very cross with him and seen such a change in him, I think that he's in a very, very bad way.
Yeah, he felt so distant from her, Angela. He was almost backing away. And it was interesting to me that in that moment, Jane Pauley immediately noticed that Meghan put her hand on Harry's knee, but he didn't come in to provide her any sort of support. He basically let her take it.
Yes. Well, usually he would certainly put a hand on that, or she would take his arm. But I think it wasn't that. I think that it was a case that if she had her hand on his leg, she could pinch it if he said anything without anybody really seeing it, and that would shut him up. I think it was much more, I'm in control. You do anything or say anything, I do what you
see.
And you will get it.
That actually makes a lot of sense. So it's almost like I've got this, Harry. Don't say anything. This is my time to answer this question.
Yes, I feel that they're at a stage now where they can't stand each other. I don't know how long these things last. You can have those bouts. If you can't stand your partner, then you love them the next day. But this is a sort of thing that it wasn't working for them as a partnership, and they were really angry with each other. And I think that they can't really separate because Meghan wouldn't get nearly as many jobs as she would like, or respect she would like, if Harry wasn't there, because although he's not a working royal, he is still a royal, and it's that name, royal, that keeps her going. And he can't leave because what will happen? How will he see his children? How will he be anything really? And I think that they've come to a very, very difficult end. They might not leave each other now, but you can see there's no warmth there. There's anger, there's
It's all gone
spite,
wrong.
and there's Drew is stepping out of it. As you see with Harry, he just stepped out of the whole conversation. And when he made a comment about it, Meghan looked at him. If eyes could kill, he'd be dead.
And it almost felt, Angela, as if she was making yet another threat to the British
Yes.
royal family, didn't it? She said, I've only scraped the surface. And to me,
Yes.
that felt like, is she writing the book at the moment? Is there more to come? There was a veiled undertone, a
Yes.
sinister sort of little, be careful, royal family. I've got more to say on this, and I'm not going to say it in this interview.
Yes, exactly. I think she's very good at those. She fits in these lines of warning people or saying that she's still suffering from things. She's a victim. She likes to be a victim. I can't understand why, because she's got, 16 bathrooms, children, one of each sex, loads of money, but she likes to be a victim. And with this time, she just doesn't care. She just makes people want to feel sorry for her. Well, why on earth should they? The whole thing about her wanting to commit suicide is a very strange one as well. I mean, if I can just
Do you believe it?
I don't actually. No, I think it was a way to get Harry out the family and whiz over quickly to America, because she went to the help of the staff. She asked the staff to help her, who have very different doctors from the royal family. Not saying they're better or worse, but they're not allowed to deal with royals. The royals are handled in a different way. There are always doctors running around or being there because the royal family have a whole load of their own. If she'd asked King Charles about help, he'd had therapy. If she'd asked for William or Catherine, they did this platform of mental health, which they knew very well. She said she didn't want to ask Harry because she knew he'd been very unhappy lately. Well, that's a nonsense, isn't it? If you're married to somebody and you're pregnant and you want to say, look, please help me, but she didn't want to do that. I don't think that's that's a nonsense. Now, the other thing is that really baffles me is that if you are in your late 30s and you're pregnant, she was about 6 months pregnant, you go to see your doctor and they will say to you, how do you feel mentally as well as physically? Because a lot of women who are getting heavily pregnant feel very low. They feel that their body's been changed and they don't understand how they're not happy when they should have when they want a baby. And there was somebody absolutely ready to help her. I mean, she must have gone because you can't not go when you're that age. You can get into a danger zone. And I just think that if she hasn't done anything like that, it makes a nonsense. But the other thing is, on that day when she did tell him, and she'd been crying and crying, she turned up at the Royal Albert Hall looking ever so glamorous, lots of makeup, black dress, very attractive, laughing, smiling. Now, I know you can, as they say, put on a good face, but I think if you're nearly suicidal, you can't get out of bed, you can't be bothered to make up. Life has no interest for you, and therefore you're not going to make a big effort to look wonderful. But she did, she looked fine. So for me, and of course I might be wrong, it's just my feeling, I don't believe in it. So this has stayed on for 4 years now. Whereas, as you said, she's still thinking about it. She's only just got to the top. She's still on the surface about it. Well, for goodness sake, move on.
First, though, what's so important about being independent is that I'm only ever going to tell you about products that I use, truly believe in, and think will improve your life. So that's why today I want to let you know about Verso. Now, I've entered my 40s, really trying to stay healthy. Haven't been very good over the past week, but let me tell you, I'm back on it today. Exercising, doing the 16-8 fast. But what's interesting, that will only get you so far. Scientists like David Sinclair have proven we can now reverse aging with interventions that go beyond healthy habits. So I wanted a product that would enhance everything that I was doing, but that was also backed up by solid evidence. So that's why I use Celbean by Verso every morning. It has scientifically proven ingredients that fight the effects of aging by increasing NAD+ levels. That's the stuff that powers every cell in your body. I've been taking the product for a number of months now, right at the start of my day. It has genuinely been transformative. Fasting's easier. I've lost fat. And Verso tell me that's actually due to its blood sugar regulation effects, which lead to fewer cravings. I'm sleeping better too. This product has taken years off me. I'd love you to experience the same thing. A couple of important notes. Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you're getting what you paid for. And you don't have to pay that much today, actually, because if you head right now to buy.ver.so/outspoken, you will save 15% on your first order. All you need to do is use the coupon code outspoken. I'll put the link in our YouTube and Rumble descriptions. But to repeat, that's bui.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code outspoken.
She doesn't want to move
I know.
on because she wants to win.
But there's so many things about that night at the Royal Albert Hall that have never made sense, Angela, because if you sit in one of those boxes at the Royal Albert Hall, which I have done, have had the privilege to do, you are very, very close to the people in the other boxes and to the people who you're sitting next to, and you're on display the whole time. Even though the house lights go down, you can be seen. But remember, Angela, she claimed that as soon as the show began, she sat there sobbing. I'm sorry, I just do not believe it. Everyone has a mobile phone. She would have been photographed. Someone would have flashed her. So none of that ever really made sense.
But also, if that had happened and Harry saw that, they would have been someone standing at the back who was someone in the staff, and they would have gently taken her out. She could have said she had a bad stomach, she felt sick. She could have excused herself, and nobody would estimate what she was doing. But it didn't make sense. I watched it. I watched those things, and she seemed fine. She seemed fine. She might not have felt fine. She could have been very uncomfortable with her pregnancy, but I think she has to exaggerate it and make her this victim, which is really sad.
It is. I was laughing during this interview, though, Angela, because Meghan just so clearly could not stand Jane Pauley. And this is why usually they only agree to be interviewed by their friends, because they want it to go a particular way. But Jane Pauley wasn't really being horrible. She was just being honest. And she was saying that this is a very modest start to your new project. But again, it's a bit of a car crash moment. Watch.
The two of you, this is, it's a modest beginning. You know, it's not an army of parents yet.
No.
But what are your ambitions?
I think you have to start somewhere. I think the simplest thing that anyone watching this or anyone who's able to make change, to look at it through the lens of, what if it was my daughter? What if it was my son? My son or my daughter who comes home, who are joyful, who I love, and one day, right under my roof, our entire lives change because of something that was completely out of our control. And if you look at it through the lens as a parent, there is no way to see that any other way than to try to find a solution.
She was not happy, Angela.
But that was rubbish to say, the only way as a parent is to try and look to cure it, to make it better. Well, I'm not surprised at that. I mean, it's ridiculous that to suddenly come up with an idea of how to handle it, which absolutely is an essential, and she didn't need to. But I think that they had no, and still have no professional knowledge to take over looking after parents whose children have killed themselves, committed suicide from something online. You need really special people who can handle that. And just going around to give the few people who were there an enormous hug is inappropriate. They don't really want a hug. They want somebody to help them get over it and tell them in a medical way how they can recover. But you don't from a child. I mean, it's very, very difficult. And she did again, what was so annoying, was talk about herself, about her own feelings, which reminded me of the podcast she did when it was all about me, me, me. And I think she didn't say anything about how she felt they could begin to have another life. It's all about me, me, me. So, you hear Meghan yet again telling everybody about herself as if that's the key thing to a family who've lost a child. It makes no sense at all.
But Angela, what about the hypocrisy
Yes.
of them trying to claim that they are campaigners to clean up the internet? Because they're anything but in reality.
Yes, that's it. I've written down a thing from their friend, Christopher Bosie, who is one of the most beautiful men. If you see the people that they friendly with and the way they handle that when they're off center, then you realize that they are not really very nice people. Now, this man, he appeared with the couple on the 6-hour Netflix documentary, and his nasty side is absolutely appalling. I think you've had a touch of it, and so have I.
Oh, yes, I have.
But his comments include him saying in a line, Princess Catherine was aging as fast as a banana, that Prince William looked like a balding Muppet. And in October 21, he tweeted, "I'm sorry, but William and Kate look like Harry's aunt and uncle." But the worst one of all is when he heard about Catherine's cancer, he wrote to his 350,000 followers on X, "I am sorry to hear Kate has cancer. I hope she has a full recovery. But it is also clear that all 3 photos of her were fake and that Alice tried to cover it up." Now,
so he's a lunatic.
hear that someone's got cancer, you don't then try and knock them over with saying that their photos were phony. I mean, I think it's the most spiteful, nasty thing to do. Now, to be friendly with someone like that, if you want to deal with families who've had the most horrendous experience, I think you would keep well away.
Yeah. Totally. And he's the spiritual leader of the Sussex Squad, this guy. And I've never, just to clarify, they have never publicly distanced themselves from that guy or the Sussex Squad once. And actually, there was just one other moment I want to show you from the interview, Angela, because it shows to me that Meghan was not very engaged with these parents. In fact, where they are bearing their soul, both Harry and Meghan seem incredibly uncomfortable, the opposite of supportive. Watch this.
In his hand, the phone. That's how addicted he was. He couldn't even kill himself without posting about it first.
And like the Dollies, it's often impossible for parents or anyone else to see.
They just were not engaged at all, were they,
No, 'cause
Angela?
they want to do the talking. They want to handle it. They want to be in charge of it. And they might not actually feel any closeness to these people or even what to say. And that's why you can see that they're really not able to handle that sort of thing. And actually, there's only this first one where they actually meet face to face. The rest of, I believe, are all going to be remotely. And that's not going to help either, because if someone is dreadfully upset and had such a hideous experience, talking over is not going to help, really. You need a proper medical person who can help you, and time will help a little bit, but you'll never recover from the loss of a child. And the fact that Meghan felt that she wanted to commit suicide is not a reason that she's be good at it.
No, very fair point from our royal mastermind, Angela Levin. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.